Hello everyone, my name is Aaron Christensen. This is Horror 101 with Dr. AC, and welcome back to The Stack. And today is a very special day. It's Peter Cushing's birthday. He would be 111 years old were he still with us, and I believe he is still with us in spirit. And not only that, he is with us in the form of this awesome box set called Cushing Curiosities, which was put out by Severin. I actually got this for Christmas. I haven't been able to get around to it because it's a rather imposing set. As you can see, here you can see the side there, but it's a beautiful package. It's got 6 different discs, which we'll talk about in a second, and then it also has this 200-page booklet written by Jonathan Rigby called Peter Cushing, A Portrait in 6 Sketches. It is a fantastic box set, and it's a great way to honor St. Peter and all the amazing work he did. I've been a Hammer fan for a very long time. I think most people were introduced to Peter Cushing, at least most people my age were introduced to Peter Cushing through Star Wars. He played Grand Moff Tarkin, of course. I think I first saw him on Late Night Creature Features in Frankenstein Must Be Destroyed, which, if you're interested in the Hammer Frankensteins, as I am, you can check out our Friday Night Frights panel, which aired this past Friday, and I'll have the link right up here. There we go. It's a big Peter Cushing weekend for me, and I thought that would be a great opportunity to bust into this box set. So, as I said, we've got 6 different discs. One of them has a double feature on it that is Suspect and the Man Who Finally Died. We've got 5 different movies, and then we've got 6 episodes of Peter Cushing as Sherlock Holmes for BBC TV. We'll just go through the list here. We've got Bloodsuckers, Tender Dracula, Cone of Silence, Suspect and the Man Who Finally Died, and then the Sherlock Holmes episodes. Plus, again, this awesome 200-page book, color photographs, poster images. It is incredible. Jonathan Rigby is a noted Hammer scholar, and he provides commentary for several of the features included in this box set. Congratulations, Severin, for putting these together. It's dubbed Cushing Curiosities because these are not your better known Cushing offerings. As you can see by one of my favorite t-shirts, I got Peter Cushing here, but then on the back, you've got all the films of Peter Cushing. And I'd be lying if I said I was somebody who had gone through and be like, I've seen that, haven't seen that, haven't seen that, haven't seen that, seen that. A lot of his work was done with Hammer and Amicus. And he's someone who truly lives up to that notion of being an icon. Because like Boris Karloff, he never looked down on being associated with the genre. Vincent Price also had that same kind of joy at being a working actor and being identified and being popular. There's nothing wrong with that, Christopher Lee. There was no embarrassment for him. He was pleased to be working. He was pleased that people wanted to see him as Frankenstein, as Van Helsing. But he was also just a very proficient actor, and people were very glad to have him in their films, whether it was horror or not. Several of these features here are not horror. In fact, I would say 3 of the 5 of them are not horror. We'll start off with Suspect and the Man Who Finally Died. Both of these are thrillers. Neither of them features Cushing in a lead role. He's very much a supporting part, but I'm really glad that he was in it because that's what brought them to my attention. Suspect is a great thriller. It's about a group of biologists who are creating vaccines. As you know, vaccines are basically a low-grade version of the virus itself, and the government is concerned that this virus could be turned loose and used as a weapon. And so they're going to withhold both the vaccine and the virus, which causes frustration among the biologists. And so there's a question as to whether they're going to sell the secrets to somebody, publishing their works even though they've been forbidden to do so by the government. It's a great cast. Tony Britton and Ian Bannon are 2 of our leads, as well as Cushing, and it's well worth checking out. The other film is called The Man Who Finally Died, and that stars Stanley Baker as a man who's been told that his father had died in the war, but then he gets a letter from his father asking him to come to England. He's been living in America. And so he comes to England and he's told that his father just recently passed away. I thought he died a long time ago. And also I just got a letter saying that he was still alive. So there's a whole mystery as to where is his father and who is pretending to be his father, who's buried in his father's grave. There's a whole lot of mystery wrapped up in it. And Cushing plays someone who's kind of on the periphery, but still very much involved. And it's a really nice part for him as well. Then we come to another drama, Cone of Silence, which features Bernard Lee as an aging pilot who has an accident on a runway and is subsequently called in to show his proficiency in the cockpit. Several people, including Peter Cushing, want him out. They say that he's over the hill, that he can't handle these new planes, so he has to prove himself. And it turns out he's a very excellent pilot, has been for years, and that there may be an issue with the plane itself. Very suspenseful and really, really well done. Really well directed, and a film I would not have probably come by had Peter Cushing not been associated with it. So this is where that great thing of really loving an actor and wanting to track down all of their works pays off in dividends, because even though Cushing is fine in the role, it's the movie itself that actually is really the discovery for me. I'm very happy that I got to see it, even though I really hadn't heard of the movie prior to it being included in the set. Then we get to the 6 episodes of Sherlock Holmes, one of which is a reprisal of his turn in Hound of the Baskervilles, which he did for Hammer in 1959. These are all solid episodes, and they show Cushing as that kind of intelligent, witty, urbane. He's a wonderful Sherlock Holmes, and I'm glad that he got the opportunity to come back to it. There are people like Basil Rathbone who got to play it over and over again and became synonymous with the role. Cushing only had played it the one time for Hammer. And so the fact that he got to play it again for the BBC, you can see that he relished the opportunity, and I think audiences enjoyed him there as well. Then we come to our 2 horror offerings, Tender Dracula and Bloodsuckers. We'll talk about Bloodsuckers first. This is kind of a low-budget Euro trash kind of offering where there's a lot of exploitation elements, a lot of sexuality. Basically, like 6 minutes into the movie, you get a 10-minute orgy scene where there's just naked bodies everywhere, writhing and writhing to psychedelic rock music. And it just goes on and on and on for like 10 minutes. And then, they decide to go back to the movie. The basic concept is that there's this up-and-coming scholar who Cushing, as the headmaster, has taken under his wing and wants him to marry his daughter. And he falls in with this cult where they suck blood, and that is seen as a sexual turn-on. And so his friends and his colleagues and his fiance, they all try and track him down. He's flown to Greece with this woman, and they want to try and bring him back into the fold. It's almost like a drug addiction or a sex addiction. There's definitely the addiction element to it. Patrick McNee is our biggest name in the cast outside of Peter Cushing. Peter Cushing has a smaller role, again, as the headmaster. And I will say that it does feel like it's kind of him doing his thing. I don't know that this was a part that was particularly important to him. He does his usual solid turn here, but it's not really his movie. And it's a movie that does tend to go on a bit. It feels like one of those independent European films where, we can get some money and get some financing if we have a lot of naked bodies and we call it Bloodsuckers and we have Peter Cushing involved. And that's basically what it is. I'm not saying it's a bad movie. I think it's an intriguing little piece. It's certainly not my favorite and not my favorite in the set. And finally, we come to Tender Dracula, which is a curious little beast. It's directed by Pierre Grunstein, who this is the only time that he ever directed a film. He was mostly known as a producer. And it's this kind of bizarre French comedy where Cushing plays this horror icon who mostly is known for being a vampire. And it's supposedly the only time that Cushing ever played a vampire on screen. But he's this horror icon, and he's decided he doesn't want to do horror anymore. He wants to do romantic comedies and just romance in general. He wants to do love and not fear. And he has wandered off to his castle estate, and these 2 screenwriters have been enlisted by the big boss to go track him down and either write a script that he is suitable for or to convince him to come back to the horror genre. It is very much a comedy first, and a rather bizarre and French comedy at that, in that I don't know that it's terribly funny, but Cushing seems to be having the time of his life. He is doing something completely unique, different than we've seen him do before, not just wearing fangs, but, spanking the bare bottoms of French starlet Meow Meow. And he's paired opposite Alida Valli, who had worked with Hitchcock, and she would later be famous for her role in Suspiria. And she and Cushing just play off each other beautifully, like the two old pros that they are. And there's a genuine affection for each other, both in their characters, and you can see just that mutual respect as artists. And there are several moments that are just genuinely touching, and you see Cushing doing the fine work that he is capable of. And it's a lovely little gem that's buried deep, deep, deep in his filmography. And kudos to Severin for bringing it into the light. As bizarre as the film is, his moments in it are really kind of extraordinary, and they show a side of Cushing that you may not have ever seen before. And again, I have to hand it to Severin for this wonderful packaging. All 5 discs. Disc cases fit in there. And you got this beautiful lid that just comes over the top. And it's just a really gorgeous package. And, you know, it sat under my tree for a long time. And it sat on my desk for a long time. And it sat on the stack for a long time. And I'm really, really glad to have finally been able to work my way through it. And happy birthday, Peter Cushing. We love you. We miss you. And thank you so much for all that you've given to us. Please let us know your thoughts on Peter Cushing. If you've seen these films, if you have the box set, let us know your thoughts there. Let us know your favorite Cushing films. And below in the description, I'll have another 5 titles. And you let me know what you'd like to see taken off the stack. Until next time, keep searching, keep exploring, and keep sharing the scare.